Rowena, we are back again with episode 4 of Behind the Scenes of our program. And we have actually been doing 3 episodes before this, and we've been talking a lot about the program. So in this episode, we'll be really sharing what the program is about and what participants can get out of the program or what they walk away with. So Rowena, before I get into that, can you give us a little, how shall I say, a little recap of what we talked about way before this?
Okay. I think we you mean like in the earlier weeks or last week?
Earlier weeks.
Yeah, I think we talked a little bit about, why we're doing the work that we're doing and why this program matters. We also talked a little bit about who the program is for. And I guess I also wanted to spend a little bit of time on, how we've named the program. From Vision to Voice, a 4-week visibility sprint for women who do great work is the title. Visibility Sprint. I love that you picked this title and it really works for me, but I think we're both coming to it from different angles. So why did you choose Visibility Sprint?
Sometimes when we think of enrolling ourselves into programs, I want something that's fast enough for me to learn from, quick enough for me to grasp certain key concepts or ideas, and at the same time, I want to fit it into my schedule. I don't want it to be like, so drawn out and so long that it takes me months to complete. And at the end of the 3 months or 6 months, I would have forgotten what I was in the program for. So for me, a sprint feels that way. It's light, it's agile, it's workable within my own personal time frame and schedule, and with all the things that I have in my life. I think putting the word sprint there just feels like, it's easy, it's doable, and I like that.
Easy and doable. Okay, I don't know if everyone else feels a sprint is easy and doable, but I like where you're coming from. We're both busy women. We've got businesses to run, and we've got family lives, and we expect that anybody who's joining the program is also coming to this with a lot going on, as is the case nowadays for many people. So the idea of having something that we can work on and get results pretty quick is very appealing. For me, when you came up with this term, which I think is really brilliant, I immediately started to think about Agile and Scrum because I used to help to deliver these sort of programs, and that just got in my mind. And for me, when you think of sprint in Agile, it's really about being not very fixed in our approach. We start the process, we look at what is developing, and we iterate, right? We collaborate, and it's about incremental development. It's knowing that we are constantly reviewing and making decisions on the go, which I think allows people to feel maybe it's not as much in control because, things are developing and you're making decisions, but it is real because you have something in front of you and you can just make decisions that fit that moment or that situation. And for me, that's pretty good. And I like the idea of a sprint having a very clear and concise goal. You have certain objectives, but at the same time, we're not necessarily so hell-bent on the objective. So we're sort of allowing ourselves to stay open to the process and remaining in flow. I don't know if an IT person would agree that that's what a sprint is, but that's how it is in my mind. So I'm running with that.
And I think the fact that we're recording this behind the scenes is similar to a sprint, right? We are creating the process. We are creating the program, but at the same time, we are also being flexible enough to open ourselves to changes, if there are any changes, open ourselves to new ideas, innovation that comes in along the way. We will adopt and adapt them for the program.
Yes.
So for us, I think a sprint is like that. For me, a sprint just feels that it's open-ended enough for us to include interesting ingredients, if I may call it that. But at the same time, make sure that we're still on the same path of heading to where we want to go. But it's just that we are not so fixed in the sense that, we must do this or we have to do this. So I think it frees us all up and lets us be more creative also, because that makes
I
us,
agree.
Be open to any new changes.
I agree. Yeah, I think, the old way of doing things where we can be quite fixed and you hold on to certain outcomes that you may have decided at the start of the journey, and then things change, you have some different opinions about things based on whatever is developing, and you stick to the plan because that's what you decided. And I think, it doesn't make sense. I think we do need to be open to the changes as they happen. But that's not to say you keep changing too much. I mean, everything in balance, of course. But yeah, I think the visibility sprint is great for people who are very busy with the idea that we are working quickly, and we're going to go for quick wins and outcomes that we feel we can work with and live with.
So, which brings us to this week's episode, where we are going to talk about details of our program. We have created a 4-week visibility sprint program. And in the 4 weeks, perhaps we can talk about what happens on a week-to-week basis, on the high level, of course, because we're still working with putting pieces together. So we don't want to promise things that we haven't really, nailed down 100%.
Yeah, that's true. Which is kind of scary because we're talking and then things can change. But we have an idea for what the program looks like. As you've mentioned, we're still developing. So, but we do feel like that it's picking up speed and it's beginning to shape up and it's looking very strong, very robust. The idea behind our program is we have at the start of it a bit of pre-work. So everything that we're doing is designed to be completed within the course itself, so we're not having a plan where you're going to go away and do a ton of work. This program is designed for people who are working already, whether you're in a corporate career or you're running a business. So we fully understand that everybody's got stuff going on. And so any kind of work is meant to be achievable, small little bits and pieces. So the pre-work is really a bit about reflection and journaling so that you can kind of ground yourself in whatever goals and intentions that you might have. And then with week 1, we're looking at basically our mindset, so it's looking at how we're approaching things and making sure we're shifting our mindset. And I would say probably week 1 is a pivotal week. It's the first week. So it's where we set the scene. It's also where people may come with certain expectations or concerns or sort of, looks leaning back maybe and going, well, what have you got for me? I don't know. But the idea being that we want you to shift your mindset around what visibility has been for you, which for many who might be looking to join, it might be something that's too difficult or something that's just, presented itself to be problematic, and maybe you don't have the time or you just don't know how to proceed, or you've done a few things and you've fallen down and you don't know how to pick yourself up again. It could be a whole bunch of things. It could just be one thing. But the idea, it's not about looking at this as a kind of bragging or, tooting your horn. We want people to understand that visibility here is just about owning your space and standing in your power, understanding that you have a right to be here, that you have a right to be seen, that you can showcase the work that you're doing and that you should, and how to do it in a way that sits well with you, that doesn't give you that icky feeling. You know what I mean? So that's week 1. So it's a big week. For me, I think that's a big week because it's not easy to shift mindset, to get people to change and see things from a different perspective. But hopefully we've got a couple of ideas. And then week 2 is the confidence toolkit, which is all about storytelling. And for me, that is really powerful because we all have lots of stories, right? Lots of different experiences, different culture, and being able to share that stories in a powerful way so that people can really begin to understand who you are and where you've come from and how far you've come. All of those things it's what builds that human connection, between us. And so I feel like that right after the mindset is a good way to do it. So that's week 1 and week 2. Do you want to take week 3 and 4?
Okay, so before I take week 3 and 4, I just want to talk a little bit about storytelling, because I think that is something that both of us feel very strongly about. We're really passionate about telling stories, and in our own ways, we've been telling our own stories and telling stories of our clients. But I think when people talk about storytelling, I think people kind of like freeze up. when I talk to people about, share your story, they kind of like, no, I don't have a story to tell or to share. And this is what surprises me most about most people, is they've never really looked into their own lives and asked themselves what stories that they have had in their lives that is worth sharing. And a lot of times we all have fantastic, wonderful stories, but because we never really take the time. And in this program, I hope Rowena and I can give you that space and time for you to really look back into your life and say, actually, I've done a lot. It's just that I've never shared the stories of the stuff that I've done with the bigger world out there. Maybe sometimes you've shared it with a couple of close friends, maybe, some clients that you work with or some people that you work with, right? But it's not in a way that other people know about. So it could be a very small circle and that you share it with. But when I work with clients, I always tell them that sometimes what you consider to be trivial stories actually are powerful stories. And the story, if you are able to tell that story, of course, the other person who's hearing the story will know more about you. But the other indirect effect of that is that you start to become proud of yourself. And I think most people never feel that about themselves sometimes, right? They never say, oh, really? I've done all this stuff. I'm proud of myself. Yes, but because you've never uncovered those stories and never, verbalize them, right? I mean, writing them down is one thing.
I love this.
Yeah, but if you never
I love
talk
this
about it, if you never really put it out there and say it, and then hear yourself saying it, that itself is powerful. Hearing yourself say that story or tell that story to another person, and after that, of course, tell it to the general public or the bigger world out there, that actually helps you feel proud of yourself and your work. And I think a lot of people forget that part of that aspect of storytelling. Is that, I have to tell a story because I need to convince a client, I need to sell more products, I need to sell more services. Yes, but indirectly, you didn't tell the story to yourself first. And if you didn't tell the story to yourself, you're not proud of your work. So if you're not proud of your work, who else would be proud of your work? So to me, that aspect of storytelling is really powerful. And when I take clients through this process, sometimes they're like, oh, never knew that about myself. So anything to add to that?
Yeah.
Rowena? I'm sure you have.
Yes. I was just going to say, I have 2 things. So I love what you just shared, because I think that is so true and so powerful. So what we hope to offer with a group, our size, we're looking at about 10 people, and we purposefully choose a group of 10 because we want it to be intimate and we want to provide a safe space for everyone. So in order for you to go out there and kind of broadcast or share your message with the world, it feels like the world when you're putting it out on LinkedIn or any kind of social media, you have the opportunity to just do it with a smaller group. It's a safe environment. It's a supported environment. And you get to test out your story, so to speak. You get to figure out how you want to say and what you want to say in an environment that brings you comfort and ease. That is the goal for why we do what we do. That's the one thing. And just touching on that point about, we don't really realize until we tell a story. That's absolutely true. It's only when you start talking about yourself and you're doing the thinking as you're sharing, and then you're beginning to have an appreciation of things because you've articulated it. And because you've articulated it, it's now sitting in you and you're going, and you may not have done that prior to that. And so that's where there's a lot of power in the storytelling, right? And one of the things I notice when I run Thrive meetups, which is, meant for women, and it's a safe space for us to share stories and learn. One of the things I notice is we create that space for people to talk and share their stories. And when they do, they feel good about, being in that supported environment. But I think part of it is also when the first person shares something and they get feedback, and then me too, and that's what I had. And then suddenly they look around and they realize they're not alone. We feel so alone in our challenges and all the things that we're going through. And we feel like, we're the only one going through this and nobody else is going through what we're going through. And then when you share your story and you realize it resonates with somebody else because they've been through a similar thing, you suddenly feel that bond, that human connection. So that's where the stories are so powerful, right? So I'm, looking forward to week 2.
That is why I say that, by putting our stories out there, we get other people chime in and say, hey, I felt the same way too, or I went through the same experience. And this reminded me actually of a post I did on LinkedIn. I wrote on LinkedIn about, should your work be free? And I know a lot of my friends started to add on comments to that, because I know that was a really controversial yet tricky subject to bring up. Because a lot of people don't want to be seen as, oh, you're charging for everything, But there is a time and place for charging. And there's also a time and place for doing something for free. So that is where people want to say it, but sometimes they don't feel brave enough to say it. And when someone says it, then you can comment. And that makes it safe, right? Because someone said it already. So you don't have to feel
exactly.
So,
yeah.
Like, oh, how do I voice this? I too have my own experiences with such, people asking me to do my work for free or to speak for free or moderate for free, right? So I think this is what's powerful about storytelling, is that when we get like-minded people who agree on certain stories, or, how these stories are helping us see the light in a way, allow us to see, wow, well, I thought I was the only crazy one thinking that I should be charging for certain, speaking gigs, for instance. And then someone comes and tells me, yeah, I've been asked to do this too, and I felt very conflicted. I didn't know whether I should charge or not. So these are some of the things that, people really like when you put the story out there and people agree or disagree.
We give people permission to do the same.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what we do. When we do that, they suddenly feel someone else has gone ahead. I don't have to take the brunt of it, but we're giving permission to them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or they're seeing it as that.
Yeah. And so that for me is the power of storytelling. So that's why the both of us love storytelling, right? I mean, we could talk for hours about this. We could just go on and on. But okay, let's get back to the program details. Let's talk about week 3. So week 3 is really about helping you develop a content roadmap. We want to put a rhythm to the work that you're doing, and certain habits need to be built. So we can start with building a rhythm around the content that you want to put out. But at the same time, and I hear this from a lot of people that I work with, is that I can't create content. I'm not the content creating type, of person. And I'm sure you've heard that too, right, Rowena? Oh, I can't write. It's too tough for me to even write a sentence. But in week 3, we are going to share some tips as well as how to use AI to make your work a lot faster and, of course, a lot better. And I know some people, they don't feel good by using AI. They feel like, oh, AI is going to create something that's not me. So for myself and Rowena, I think what both of us can bring to this program is we'll share with you how you can actually use what AI has generated for you as the base of what you want to talk about, but at the same time, bring your own personality and voice to that content. So whether it is a written piece that you feel, okay, I can't write this, or I don't want to put this up because this is just it sounds too AI rather than it sounds like me, we can share how we have done it for ourselves, where we put a lot of our own voice and tone and personality into the pieces that we create for ourselves. So I think using AI as a supplementary help, like to supplement your work rather than to replace your work, will be one of the key things that we want to share with you in this program, so that you are not afraid of AI, and at the same time not afraid of using it to help you get to where you want to be. And I think that what That's what week 3 to me feels like. It's like sharing with you all the tips and the hacks, and I'm sure you have a couple of your own, Rowena, of how you keep to a content development schedule so that you can actually stick to it, right? Rather than, post 1 week on LinkedIn and then disappear for the next 6 months and never come back until, month 7, right? So I think that for me is what week 3 is about. And then, of course, once we have done that in week 3, so what does week 4 look like? So week 4 is really about celebration. So we're celebrating because we've actually done some of the hard work. Actually, we've done a lot of the hard work. If you go through the program with us, we'll be doing quite a bit of work. Even though I did mention in the beginning that it's going to be like, it sounds easy and doable, we want to also caution you that it probably has a lot of work involved, in the sense that you probably have to work on it a lot from your point of view, creating the assignments and working on the assignments. But week 4 is really about the before and after reflections. And of course, we want to celebrate the personal breakthroughs that you've had in the 4 weeks that you've been with us. So this is where we see this is the time for us to toast to the beginning of being more courageous, of stepping into your voice and stepping into creating more visibility for yourself.
I just wanted to add that it's about new markers. We need new markers that we can hold on to. When you go through a program like this, yes, we do have certain insights and, topics that we're going to cover, but a lot of what you'll work on is your own material, your own, based on your own goals and objectives. So it's very personalized to your own journey. And whether it's the shift around your mindset, whether it's, figuring out what that story is, that narrative that you're going to create, that you're going to tweak, or what is the content that you're going to create, whatever aspect we're looking at, you're going to be making some big shifts. And that's why we have a whole week around celebration, because we need to, first of all, be able to talk about it, be able to recognize that those shifts have happened, and to celebrate it, because we want to see those wins. We want to recognize those wins and realize that the markers have now shifted, and we now have new markers that we're going to keep going back to in our mind. And those new markers are markers that help us feel more confident and more assured about, the direction we're taking. So it's super powerful. Now, if you're wondering, we kind of did a very high level in terms of what we'll cover from week to week. But in terms of what we cover in a particular week, it's effectively going to be a workshop. So that's a live workshop online. Everyone's going to gather. There'll be some element of presentation where we're sharing ideas and resources with you, but there'll also be some element of interaction and brainstorming and activities in the workshop. So as the name suggests, workshop will be workshopping things as opposed to just downloading some information and walking off. Based on whatever we cover in the workshop, you'll then have various activities that you'll be engaging in your own personal time. That can, I guess, contract or expand according to your capacity and according to, what your individual goals are like. And then we also have the midweek check-ins, or they're like group coaching calls where you get to come together as a group and check in with each other, check in with us. It's an opportunity to touch base without the framework of a workshop, without all those topics that we need to discuss. So it's more free ranging so that we can be more focused on you as the participant and what you might need, what challenges you may be facing in the moment. So those, I think, are particularly important, because from there you'll have additional movement, maybe change of direction, whatever it is that can help you take it to the next level. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of a snapshot of what we will cover week on week, as well as what we would do within the week.
And we also, after week 4, which is to celebrate, right? Celebration circle, there is a little bit of post work. So that is where post-work is where we finalize, or you finalize, actually, the participants will finalize your personality, visibility, rhythm, and also finalize your action plans. So moving forward, what are you going to focus on? How are you going to do it? And in a way, this seems like an accountability commitment thing, right? But this really helps because I think if we're working together in a small group, Rowena, we mentioned 10, right? So in a small group, it's actually far easier to support each other that way. So it's not just that when the program is done, it's done. It's like it's over. Okay, we're on our way, that's it. But we still want to support each other through future engagements in such way that, we want to help you be even more courageous into creating
it's
more.
Not the end.
Yeah.
The workshop or this entire program is not the end, it's the beginning. So to me, like the post-work sounds like work, but actually to me, that's the really exciting bit because now having gone through the program, you have a fresh set of eyes on the things that you're working on. And now with all of those things still fresh in your mind, your energy is good, you feel engaged. You can now start really ramping up the plan, adding more detail, just kind of expanding and working on things in the moment while everything is still present and fresh and, the energy is there. Because after that, there's the workshop is over, right? And so there is the opportunity for one-on-one and additional stuff. But yeah, we wanted to end on a strong and a high note. And so the post-work, I think, is a key part of that.
And if you're watching this or listening to this, I'm wondering, okay, Rowena and I talked a lot about the week 1, 2, 3 for pre-work, post-work. So how many hours do I have to dedicate to this program if I enrolled? We're talking about 3 hours per week of contact time with me and Rowena. So that is broken down to 2 parts. One is the 90 minutes of the workshopping or the workshop that we'll be conducting with the entire group. And the second part of it is the group coaching, or what we call the midweek, right?
Yes, it's midweek. We haven't really finalized the timing, but yeah, group coaching is meant to be midweek so that they have the ability to check in before they hand in assignments, assessments, whatever it is. Yeah.
So that's another 90 minutes or 1.5 hours. So think of it as 1.5 hours for the workshop and 1.5 hours for the group coaching. And of course, you have your own personal time to work on your own assignments, depending on how fast or, how long you want to take with your assignments. It's up to you. But yeah, you'll be meeting me and Rowena for 3 hours a week for 4 weeks, right? And I think to me,
correct.
I mean, I am creating this program for a person like myself. I think 3 hours, doable. Yeah, I think I can do that.
I think so. Yes, exactly.
Could you do that?
So,
Could you do that, Rowena?
That was the detailed planning behind this. It's like, can I do 3 hours a week? Yes, I can. Can you, Krista? Yes. Okay, yes. I think we can do 3 hours a week. People can do 3 hours a week. Yeah.
Yeah. Imagine investing 3 hours a week for the next 4 weeks so that you can emerge more confident online. And we haven't even talked about what they're walking away with, but I know that they'll definitely be more confident online. That's definitely one of it. More confident online and more confident in sharing what they want to share. With a redefined mindset. I mean, I want to say that with a redefined mindset.
Yes. Yeah, we'll share things with them. We'll share stories with each other. It's peer-to-peer too. It's not just Krista and myself sharing. You'll be learning from each other, from your stories, and all of those insights are going to come together. It's going to be percolating, and you're just going to have a shift, an internal shift, a new approach to things, a belief in yourself. You'll come away with your career narrative, right? A way to describe your journey, but it's not just about the past, it's about your future direction, which is super important. And you'll have all of these content pieces, because that's be part and parcel of what we're working on during these 4 weeks. So content pieces in various formats, could be video, could be text. I don't know. I won't say too much.
Yeah. We shouldn't say
tools
too much,
and templates.
Yeah, tools and templates. But I think to me, really confidence, right? I mean, if anything, putting aside all the tangible stuff that they can get from the program, I think a lot of it is intangible. A mindset, a more open mindset to thinking about visibility for yourself, a more open mindset in approaching telling the story of your life, past and future, as well as, I think, more optimistic. I think optimistic that you can share things online without having this feeling that you're not worthy of sharing things. I think a lot of times you always feel that this is not worth sharing. I don't think, I want to share this. So we want to help you overcome that. And I think that is probably confidence, right? Confidence in just coming out and sharing whatever you feel like sharing in the way that is most comfortable to you.
Yeah, I think so. And it is a lot, because these are things that people do struggle with. I know I struggled with it, and I'm on this side right now, but it's been years. And so, it might sound like, I've got it all figured out, or it might sound like it's super easy, but I've been through that journey. So that is what you'll get. You'll get the insight of people who have already gone ahead and done some of this, and they'll be sharing their experiences, they'll be sharing their pain points. And I think that's what's interesting and exciting about this, is just having that support and having that network around you, that you can kind of not feel like you're doing this alone. You're not having to do this alone. And
because Rowena and I, online, you can see us in real time doing the work that we are doing in real time. So we are doing the things that we're teaching you, at the same time we're doing it for ourselves. So it's not just like I'm teaching you to do this, but you won't find me online, you won't find me doing any of those things that I advocated for, right? So we are living and breathing the stuff that we teach and the stuff that will help you.
Absolutely. So yes, yeah. As you pointed out, Krista, you've got a website, you've got a podcast, you've done articles on LinkedIn and elsewhere, and so have I. So if anyone's interested and wondering, well, who are we and what have we done, you'll find.
Who the heck are these
You'll find information. You'll find information. You'll find articles. You'll find that we have done these things that we're talking about. So yes, we're not coming from a place of theory. It's stuff that we are already putting into action all the time.
Yeah. So any last words, Rowena, before we encourage them to check out our landing page, where they can find more information about the program we're talking about?
I think we've said everything we need to say. If there is one thing I would add, it's that you should believe in yourself and that you should give it a shot. I am a firm believer that if you have a dream, you have to protect it. You have to do everything in your power to really support it. It is in its infancy and it needs that support. If you don't support it, no one else is going to do it for you because it's your dream. And so you really have to be your best cheerleader. And so I hope you will consider what we're sharing. I hope that these behind the scenes give you some insight into who we are as individuals and in terms
and how
of
we think.
The vision,
how we
think, and the vision for what it is that we're delivering. And hope you'll give it a shot.
Yeah. So well said, Rowena. So I think I want to end by saying, check out our landing page if you're interested. Even if you're right now mildly interested and you feel like, interesting, don't know whether I have the bandwidth for it, but just go and check out the landing page. More information is on that page, and sign up for our wait list, and even if you're not ready for it right now, it's okay. You can still sign up for our wait list. We'll keep you updated and informed about the program and maybe even future programs that we'll be organizing and conducting. So yeah. So Rowena, shall we call it a day for episode 4?
Indeed.
Thank you everyone for watching and listening, and we will see you again in our next episode.